Please take your seats and settle down. We will start in few minutes. Good afternoon. I call to order the fourth meeting of the 18th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention to Combat Desertification at its 14th session of the Conference of the Parties. Distinguished delegates, this afternoon, the committee will first take action on the draft proposals before it and subsequently adopt the report of the 18th session. Allow me at this juncture to inform you of how I propose to proceed with our work this afternoon. I would first take up all the proposal of draft decisions for adoption by agenda item. After all the decisions are adopted, I will open the floor for statements by regional and interest groups. The committee will then proceed with the adoption of its report for this session. Subsequently, we will take up the item on election of officers other than the chair before concluding the work of the committee at the 18th session. May I take it that this proposal is agreeable to all? I hear no objection. We shall proceed accordingly. I now invite the committee to resume its consideration of Agenda Item 2, entitled Effective Implementation of the Convention at the national, sub-regional, and regional levels. Sub-item A, entitled Review of the Report of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention on its 17th session in order to take action on a draft decision. The draft decision is entitled Assessment of the Implementation of the Convention against the Strategic Objectives of the UNCCD 2018-2030 Strategic Framework and contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.4, available in all UN languages. May I take it that the committee wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.4 and recommended it to the Conference of the Parties for its adoption? I hear no objection. It is so decided. I now invite the committee to resume its consideration of Agenda Item 2, Sub-items B, entitled Multi-year Work Plan for Convention Institutions and Subsidiary Bodies, and C, entitled Performance of the Convention Institution and Subsidiary Bodies. Delegations recall that the multi-year work plan of the Convention Institutions and Subsidiary Bodies, together with the performance report, was allocated to the Committee of the Whole, which is expected to adopt draft decision in this regard. With that, the committee has thus concluded its consideration of Agenda Item 2. I now invite the committee to resume its consideration of Agenda Item 3, entitled Improving the Procedures for Communication of Information as well as the quality and formats of reports to be submitted to the Conference of the Parties in order to take actions on the draft decision. The draft decision is entitled Improving the Procedures for Communication of Information, as well as the quality and formats of reports to be submitted to the Conference of the Parties and contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.2, available in all UN languages. May I take it that the committee wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.2 and recommended it to the Conference of the Parties for its adoption? I hear no objection. It is so decided. The committee has thus concluded its consideration of Agenda Item 3. I now invite the committee to resume its consideration of Agenda Item 4, entitled Securing of Additional Investment and Relations with Financial Mechanisms, Sub-Item A, Report by the Global Environment Facility on the Financing of Programs and Projects concerning desertification, land degradation, and drought, in order to take action on a draft decision. The draft decision is entitled Collaboration with the Global Environment Facility and contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.1, available in all UN languages. May I take it that the committee wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.1 and recommend it to the Conference of the Parties for its adoption? I hear no objection. It is so decided. I now invite the committee to resume its consideration of Sub-Item 4C, Report of the Global Mechanism and Progress Made in the Mobilization of Resources for the Implementation of the Convention, in order to take action on a draft decision. The draft decision is entitled Assessment of Financial Flows for the Implementation of the Convention and contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.6, available in all UN languages. May I take it that the committee wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.6 and recommend it to the Conference of the Parties for its adoption? I hear no objection. It is so decided. The committee has thus concluded its consideration of Agenda Item 4. I now invite the committee to resume its consideration of Agenda Item 5, entitled Development and Promotion of Activities for Targeted Capacity Building to further the implementation of the Convention, in order to take action on a draft decision. The draft decision is entitled Enhancing the Implementation of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development through the enhancement, strengthening, and promotion of capacity building, and contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.3, available in all UN languages. May I take it that the committee wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.3 and recommend it to the Conference of the Parties for its adoption? I hear no objection. It is so decided. The committee has thus concluded its consideration of Agenda Item 5. I now invite the committee to begin its consideration of Agenda Item 6, entitled Procedural Matters, Program of Work for the 19th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention, for which you have before you two draft decisions. The first draft decision is entitled Date and Venue of the 19th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention and contained in document ICCD/CRIC18L.5, available in all UN languages. May I take it that the committee wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.5 and recommend it to the conference of the parties for its adoption? I hear no objection. It is so decided. The second draft decision is entitled Program of Work for the 19th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention and contained in document ICCD/CRIC18L.7, available in all UN languages. May I take it that the committee wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.7 and recommend it to the conference of the parties for its adoption? I hear no objection. It is so decided. The committee has thus concluded its consideration of Agenda Item 6. Distinguished delegates, the committee has thus adopted all draft proposals before it for this session. I will now open the floor for a statement on any of the draft proposals adopted today. Are there any delegates who want to make a statement? So we will proceed with the next agenda item. Distinguished delegates, I invite the committee to turn its attention to the agenda item 7, adoption of the report of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention. It is my pleasure to give the floor to the distinguished Vice Chair and Rapporteur of the committee, Ms. Anna Luis of Italy, to provide us with a brief summary of the outcomes of the 18th session of the committee. Ms. Anna Luis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And distinguished delegates, I have the honor to present to the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention a brief summary of the outcome of the deliberation of the CRIC at its 18th session. At its fourth meeting today, on 12 September 2019, the committee adopted the following 7 decisions. Under its agenda item 2A, the committee adopted one draft decision on assessment of the implementation of the Convention against the strategic objective on the UNCCD 2018-2030 strategic framework contained in document ICCD 18/CRIC18/L.4. Under Agenda Item 3, the committee adopted a draft decision on improving the procedures for communication of information as well as the quality and formats of reports to be submitted to the Conference of the Parties, contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.2. Under its Agenda Item 4, the committee adopted two draft decisions. One under Subitem A on collaboration with the Global Environmental Facility, contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.1. And the second under Subitem C on assessment on financial flows for the implementation of the Convention, contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.6. Under its Agenda Item 5, the committee adopted a draft decision on enhancing the implementation of the United Nations Convention to combat desertification in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development through the enhancement, strengthening, and the promotion of capacity building, contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.3. Finally, under its Agenda Item 6, the committee adopted two draft decisions. One on the program work for the 19th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention, contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.7, and another on the date and venue of the 19th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention, contained in document ICCD/CRIC18/L.5. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the rapporteur of the committee for her statement. Does any delegation wish to make a statement in connection with the report of the rapporteur? I give the floor to the distinguished representative of India. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to say India appreciate the Chair, Co-Chair and Secretariat and all the distinguished delegates from the countries of CRIC body and their commendable work during the negotiation in very, very late hours. And India will look forward towards the activity and the reports that to be taken place in the next sessions of the CRIC. Thank you.
I thank the representative of India for her statement. Are there any other delegation who wish to make a statement? Okay. May I take it that this committee approves the draft report of this session on the understanding that the rapporteur will complete it with the assistance of the Secretariat. I hear no objection. It is so decided. The committee has thus concluded its consideration of Agenda Item 7. Distinguished delegates, I invite the committee to consider Agenda Item 1, Sub-Item B, entitled Election of Officers other than the Chair of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention. Delegation will recall that pursuant to paragraph 7 and 8 of the terms of reference of the CRIC, as contained in the annex to Decision 13/COP14, 4 vice chairs shall constitute the Bureau of the CRIC, together with the chair elected by the Conference of the Parties in accordance with Rule 31 of the Rules of Procedures of the COP. Consequently, in accordance with this decision, the chair will call for the election of these officers at the final meeting of the CRIC. The vice chairs elected, of whom one shall act as rapporteur, shall assume their office immediately. In connection with this decision, the committee has before it 4 nominated candidates to be elected as its vice chairs, and they are as follows: Ms. Nino Chikobani from Georgia, Mr. Hussein Nasrallah from Lebanon, Ms. Saliha Fortas from Algeria, and Mr. Ahmet Senyas from Turkey. May I take it that the committee wishes to elect these 4 candidates as vice chair of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention for its 19th and 20th sessions. I hear no objection. It is so decided. On behalf of the committee, I would like to express my heartiest congratulations to the newly elected vice chairs of the committee and wish them all the best in their work during the upcoming 19th and 20th sessions of the committee. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we have thus concluded our consideration of all items on our agenda for the 18th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention to Combat Desertification. But before closing the session, allow me to share some reflection with you. Distinguished delegates, our development partners from international organizations and civil society organizations, representatives from India's national and local governments, our friends from the media group, once again, good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to thank the people and government of India for making our stay here fruitful and productive, memorable, and safe during the entire duration of the 14th session of the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. As we are ending the 18th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention, my term as chair of the committee also ends. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the UNCCD Secretariat, the Global Mechanism, the CRIC Bureau members, and all of you distinguished delegates for your support and cooperation during my term. Let me highlight our achievement during the 18th session of the committee. In just 3 meetings that started on September 3 and ended in the afternoon of the following day, September 4, the committee finished its work in terms of introducing and discussing all substantive agenda items at the plenary. The CRIC Contact Group, with the effective and efficient facilitation of Ms. Iskomsa Nitsanga of South Africa and active participation of distinguished representatives from all regional implementation annexes and interest groups, was able to deal with 5 draft texts for negotiation and later agreed on their substance and content. The negotiations, although slightly prolonged by some differing views on some issues and language proposals in the text, I would say that it was generally characterized by a healthy and friendly exchange of ideas and opinions that ultimately resulted in a consensus and agreement among participants in the contact group. I thank the Secretariat for their support and core services provided during the deliberation and negotiations in the contact group. As we will go back to our respective home countries in a couple of days, I would say, let us not forget and be inspired by the challenge that was presented to us by the Executive Secretary, Ibrahim Tiao, namely, that we need to translate our plans and programs into actions on the ground. And it should start today, not in the future. Remembering the words of the great Mahatma Gandhi, who reminded us that the future depends on what you do today. Let us face this challenge all together as DLDD warriors and SLM champions of this generation, and take concrete and transformative actions to address DLDD and achieve land degradation neutrality by 2030 before it's too late. Thank you all for making the 18th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention a truly successful event. Have a safe trip back home. Thank you very much. And now, I hereby declare closed the 18th session of the Committee for the Review of the Implementation of the Convention to Combat Desertification. Thank you. Okay, finished.
Sangeeta, would you?
Distinguished delegates, I would like to inform you that the Committee of the Whole will begin its meeting shortly. You are kindly requested to wait in the plenary hall. Thank you.